As we gotten word, we are just waiting for annotators before we get set on this one. I'm going to turn the commentary over to Charles for just a minute, as my small bladder cannot tolerate the amount of coffee I've had to drink. I'll be back in about 80 seconds, and we will watch another key game of Scrabble here. Charles, take the wheel for a moment.
All right, clearly I'm being abandoned here. I don't really expect Matt to come back. Just an excuse to get away from me, but fully capable of commentating this game solo. It looks like the players are just relaxing at the table, waiting for the annotators to get set up. Again, this is the first time we're seeing Dave Wiegand on stream, and he's basically a perennial contender in every tournament he plays. He started slow this one, but probably everybody in the room knew that by day 4 he would be back up where he belongs, and sure enough, he is. So we're seeing him for the first time. It'll be great to see him play. He's always not just an excellent finder of words, but a master strategic player as well. And but Wellington, matches all those characteristics exactly. So we hope this is a good one. We hope this is a close one. We hope we get to see some, nuanced strategic play, some crazy words, and hopefully it doesn't result in a blowout one way or the other. So it looks like they're getting ready to put away the tiles. I guess, let them do that. That usually takes about 45 seconds, and then this game will be underway, and it's going to be an exciting one. Lots of ramifications for this. Dave especially is really looking for a win here to strengthen his chances at the finals.
Yeah, so my tile bagging rating is actually 2100. I bag the tiles faster than just about anybody out there. But my Scrabble rating, unfortunately, not quite so high.
Yeah, definitely my tile bagging rating goes up like 1,200 points if they're squared, and if they're just still in the configuration from the game that was played, that slows me down significantly.
So just like we have 2 major lexica in competitive Scrabble, we have 2 major set of rules for bagging the tiles if they're in squares or if they're not in the squares. Okay, I'll stop with this dumb banter now, and we'll get back to some Scrabble action. Dave Wiegand looks to shake things up dramatically. That's what he would do with a win here over Wellington. Last time the World Scrabble Championship was held on U.S. soil was 2001, and it was won by an American, Brian Capoletto, taking the title in that one. 2 Americans seem to have a chance now to make a repeat of that. Will Anderson and Dave Wiegand, both 2 games behind Wellington, 1 game behind Harshan of Britain, and we'll see if either one of them can try to repeat that history this year. EELNORU, the opening pull for Wellington. A bunch of 1-point tiles and an awkward rack for him. He's got options to play 5-letter words, something like N-O-U-L-E, as he's set up on his rack, or perhaps he could make a small exchange out of this rack. What would you look to do if you were here, Charles?
Really, I would, at that point, you're not keeping a really good leave on an exchange. Your exchange would probably be keeping ER, maybe NER. But if you're going to do that, you might as well play the tiles rather than exchanging them. And that's what we see Wellington do here. Meanwhile, Dave's first 3 tiles out of the bag were SS blank. That's a very good omen. He continued to draw bingo-friendly tiles past that point. And we certainly we'll see something come down. What that is, there's so many options.
Welcome to the stream, Dave Wiegand, playing true to name. Dr. Bing going to open with the bingo here. 2 doubles, Eswand, ESSOINED, and episodes, both for 82 points. And he is going to drop down Eswand, and bang, we are off to the races. Dave already ahead 70 on Wellington, despite playing second with a huge draw on the first turn. CEE JNRR, the rack for Wellington. The J will be able to yield some points for him. JEER and ER to the top E and S1. It looks to be the play. Triple up that J, score 29 points. I'm not really seeing anything else that even comes close to the strength of that play.
Yeah, the possibly newer players out there in chat or watching would give the J more value than that. They would think maybe I should hold on to the J and try to score more with it later. Since it is a power tile, it has we do call it a power tile even if it's not as powerful as some other tiles. But here there's no reason to keep the J. There's no future for the J on this board to speak of. So even though you're keeping 3 constants, you have to cash in the J as you can.
And Dave, after drawing bingo on his first turn, has pulled either 6 or 7 vowels, depending on how you feel about the letter Y. He will have a decision to make on his hands here. AIYEE plays for 26 points on the left side of S1, forming AE and ED. That holds AA, scores 26, or YEA, or its anagram YAE, playing to the right side of S1, scores 31, holds 4 vowels, AAEI. IE, probably the better play in a vacuum, but it slots an E in the third spot between, or the fourth spot between 2 triple word squares, opening up huge opportunities. Charles, would you make the longer 5 tile play here? That is a lot more dangerous, or would you keep things tight and play YAE or YEA with that abysmal leave?
That is a very good question, and I think it depends on how Dave thinks this board might develop. Because playing YAE or YEA, certainly more defensive. It doesn't give back bingo lines. In fact, it closes bingo lines. But it keeps very poorly, and it'll be a couple turns before his rack is sort of rectified with the correct balance of vowels and consonants, barring an improbable draw. My thought would be play AE. Hope that the E doesn't get hit too hard in the triple line. If Wellington doesn't have a bingo in the triple line and maybe only has 1 point tiles, he could escape, pretty much undamaged from doing something like that. Whether that's correct or not, it may be too nuanced for me to say definitively.
A Quackle simulation prefers the play that Dave just made to the other option, independent of the score, and especially in this situation, I think Dave's play the right one for him to make here. YAE for 31 puts Dave ahead by a healthy margin, and Wellington's not going to be able to do very much. He has a terrible, terrible rack, and it looks like he is just going to exchange all 7 of these tiles out of this situation. Some players may try to hold like an R or something out of that rack, a C, something like that, but Wellington exchanging all 7 there. He will score 0 points and play passes back to Dave. AAEIINW, the rack for Dave. He looks to pull even further ahead. AWA and AWE each play to the right side of Jighere for 30 points. AWA with an abundance of front hooks in the CSW lexicon. AWE only takes 1, an additional W. So AWE may be the more defensive play. Those could both be overlapped pretty hard, though. Maybe he looks to play something else. WALIE through the L in Newell seems to shut down this board a good amount. WAIDE to the DE at the bottom of the board, also an option for Dave. Charles, would you take points here, or would you play longer?
I would need to sort of visually map out awa or aw in my head and figure out like what the worst case scenarios are for plays alongside that play down the middle column, and basically figuring out what's the likely average score for Wellington, or even just coming up with a ballpark. Obviously, not coming up with an exact number would guide my decision towards whether I want to open that spot or if I just play something like Whaley through the L. At first glance, I would maybe take the points, but now that I'm thinking about it a little bit harder, the other benefit of Whaley, WALIE, it really makes it hard to bingo on this board, especially for 7-letter words, because you can no longer put a tile above or below the E of Newell. So I think there's something to be said for that. All that being said, Dave is just taking the points, which might very well be correct here.
An offensive play here from Dave. Awa taking 4 front hooks, K, P, T, and W, though you will notice none of those tiles appear on Wellington's rack. He has to be a bit upset that a spot that appeared on this board is not a spot that he's going to be able to do anything about. A, D, E, F, M, V, Z, the pull for Wellington. The Z, as we've talked about multiple times, an awesome tile in this game, as it can be used to hit huge points. Not great for bingos, but great for overlaps. You'll have one of those, SMAZE, playing from the second S in the double-double on the board, 36 points, but DFV is a terrible leave. So maybe ADVEW to the EW at the top of the board for 24, holding EFMZ and trying to score more in the future, a better play. Or if he looks to keep this board open, VADED, plays those same tiles through the DE at the bottom, sacrificing 4 points at the opportunity cost of maybe keeping this board open and setting up my front E. What do you like here, Charles?
Yeah, Vaded, actually, now that you mention it, it's like that does have some merit to ensure that the board develops in the way that you want. The benefit of add view, it possibly stops Dave from doing bad things to you alongside Awa. So there's a give and a take there. Unfortunately for Wellington, Dave's plan for that spot is just to drop QI, making JAI, and add view actually didn't do anything to stop that. So maybe the right idea, but it unfortunately didn't work out for him here.
So yeah, a big Q draw for Dave allows him to neutralize the spot that was just opened and score very well, dumping the clunkiest tile in the game, the Q, for big points. Dave ahead 186 to 165, but retaining that Z will pull some dividends for Wellington. He's able to cash it in a number of ways. FEZ, FAZE, MAZE, GAZE, they all play above add view. He set himself up nicely. He's also got ZEDA, which looks like the play he's thinking to make here. That a little curious to me. Maybe he's afraid of big plays, but FGMR as a leave? What is his plan in the future? Interesting decision there by Wellington, and he played it so quickly.
Yeah, I'm of course we won't get a post-mortem. We don't get any of his thoughts on that play, but certainly with the score being as it is, just doing something like gaze, the G is not that dangerous in that spot in the triple line.
Colby providing some commentary from the gallery. Colby, if you haven't seen him on stream yet, my Siberian Husky, who every once in a while makes things very difficult here. But Dave, now with an opportunity to make a big score, our scoring bug a bit behind here, but we've got 186 to 113, and Dave has GEEZ for a mammoth score for 42 using the Z, TEAZE in the same spot. I expect him to hit that Z for big points. You like G's or T's here? T's.
Yeah, definitely G's here. The ING, you can't get attached to it. You don't really, and the G by itself without ING is just not a good tile. At best, a neutral tile. So playing it off here just makes way too much sense. And that's the danger of a play like Zeta, is instead of giving your opponent a G to work with when you play gaze, you give them a Z in a triple line instead, which just either leaves you further behind or at best no progress towards getting closer to their score.
So Wellington only picking up one vowel into that clunky leave, and he's forced to play HUMF here for just 18 points. As Dave AAFGINT the rack for him, and he will have an amazing score here. Affiant, AFFIANT, 52-point double-double, and I can't imagine Dave would miss this opportunity.
Yeah, he's maybe one of the best word finders out there. He's just a machine when it comes to finding plays, and then even sort of unconventional spots like looking to play off 6 letters to play a 7-letter non-bingo double-double. He's going to be tuned into that spot right away, and I feel like it's very unlikely that he misses.
There it is. Affiant set up on the rack. He'll make sure he's not going to miss a bingo or anything, but Affiant certainly to be the play here, and that's going to make this game very difficult for Wellington to win. I'm very curious to see what Dave Wiegand did last night. Dave and I go way back. We've met at numerous North American tournaments, and there's a huge tournament in New Orleans every year, and it seems like every time Dave goes out with me and has a whole lot of fun once he feels mathematically eliminated from contention. We stay out till 4 a.m. or so, make some trouble, and Dave always comes back and wins each of his games on that final day. He's finished second, going 4-0 on that last day twice after being mathematically eliminated. So who took Dave out last night responsible for this hot run from him? What did Dave do? How much fun did he have? Because he's got to be having a lot more fun right now over the Scrabble board. Sheesh.
Yeah, I think we all need to find out exactly what his routines are so that we can exactly emulate them, and in doing so, even if we could even emulate 75% of what he does over the board, we'd be rated 2,000, winning tournaments all over the place.
Yeah, Dave goes hard sometimes, and it seems to make him play better. If you've ever played anagrams with Dave too, you know Dave's word knowledge is absolutely ridiculous. He effectively serves as the word judge. Anagram's a game where players find words up to and even sometimes exceeding 15 letters from a pool of just a bunch of them out there. You try to steal each other's words by anagramming them and adding letters to them. Dave, an absolute monster at that game. His knowledge of the words and his ability to find them nearly unparalleled. And not just words 2 through 8, as most Scrabble players have, but 11, 12, 15. Dave doesn't care. He's coming for your words, and he's going to steal them. Wellington down 149 points, AEGPRSY. Not going to be able to bingo here. Grapey, Grapey, does play alongside Affiant, making AE and FY for 38, but FY takes no back hooks, and that would start to wall this board shut. Maybe he looks to do a play that keeps things a little bit more open here. I'm just not seeing great ways to do that. Gapey in the same spot, GAPY, is only 25, holds a bingo prone ERS, and that AY may be a little bit better for long-term board shape. But I'm not sure what Wellington needs to do in this situation, aside from go back in time, draw some better tiles in this game.
Yeah, I'm curious if he's thinking about possible bingos from the queue, like obviously not imminently, he has no U, but possibly just trying to leave that spot open so that if, the situation does arise, he has an escape valve there. Then again, it's relatively unlikely, especially with 2 U's already played, that he'll actually draw something that plays up there, but it might be something that he tries to keep open. So then passing up Grapey, for example. Yeah, I'm not sure. In an ideal world, he would be able to play off the letters G and Y, keep AEPRS, which is great bingo tiles, and just sort of force the bingo to happen. But he's down by so much that he can't afford not to score this turn.
Yeah, he's got to score points here as well. And this is going to keep that queue in play long term, perhaps a little bit of a Hail Mary. But when you're down 150 against Dave Wiegand, you've got to be praying the Hail Mary as often as you can. CRUXNG blank the rack for Dave Wiegand. And he's going to look to cash some points here. Will not be able to bingo out of this rack, but he will maybe net some points. That X, a good and defensive tile for him as well. So we'll see what he's able to do with it here. Are you seeing any options that jump out to you right now? All I really see is XU in about 80 different places.
Yeah, and the downside of XU is it just keeps all the consonants. But there's no clear hotspot for the X there's not even really an X hotspot on the board that you could go for next turn. So you don't really gain anything other than perhaps the spot under G's. It's kind of a marginal X hotspot. So Dave's probably thinking, should I keep the X here and see if something happens with it? Should I play it off here? I would also be looking at just playing off as many consonants as possible.
Yeah, the ability to
Still
hold
not seeing
on
good
to
ways
the
to do
X
any of these
here
things.
looks very good. There are 7 unseen O's, the only O played so far on the first turn by Wellington. So OX and EX in the top left would score very well and knock out that G line that I'm worried about. Bingo's down from the G that could score very high. So holding on to the X would be a rather good thing for Dave to do here. But where do you play those consonants? Where do you play the non-X tiles? Something like Crag through the A and Affiant just doesn't score enough points for you here.
Yeah, I saw Craig as well. I mean, there's something to be said for it, especially the C and the G just hate each other. You do not want to keep a C and a G on the same rack. If you do that for long enough, they like annihilate and form dark matter, and you really don't want to do that in the playing room. So something like Craig, getting rid of both the C and the G, it's really treading water, but maybe with the letters that Dave has, treading water is okay.
Yeah, forming dark matter is frowned upon according to NASPA and WESPA rules. I don't believe it's illegal in NASPA rules, but perhaps the WESPA rules vary a little bit in international play. Dave, yeah, definitely wants to shed the C or the G or the U, 3 letters that are terrible together, but yeah, just no great ways to do so. I'd be looking to try to set up the X next turn if possible, but I'm not seeing any great ways to do that. Maybe just DEX and XU going to end up being the play here. Maybe Crag going for one of those 7 O's to address the G spot and score the X next turn. This is a very difficult turn for Dave. He's going to play Hex and XU here, holding very well, scoring 23 points. Vowel pulls will be great for him. 2 consonants, maybe some trouble in this situation.
Yeah, I think Dave is fully aware that he's kind of walking into trouble here, willingly walking into trouble, but he also knows what the score is. And he knows that maybe he can withstand trouble for a couple turns. And it looks like he did pick up one of the O's that we were speculating would be useful for the X, but also a duplicate R. So, is going to be struggling for a little bit here. Meanwhile, we're looking at Wellington. Not sure exactly what he's doing.
EPATANT looks like what he's thinking about here.
Oh yeah, Epitant.
16 points. Try to get some life back onto this board. Open up the left side of this. That's a lot of tiles played off for just 16 points. But Wellington has been grasping at straws. I think he might feel that the blank and the U, both unseen, are going to be huge to get back into this game. But that A he's played off, the last one in the game, I don't know if that's going to be consequential going forward.
Yeah, definitely. When you notice when you're tracking tiles that, like, if you're halfway through the game like these players are, and you track off the last vowel, either the A or the I, that does affect your thinking for the rest of the game, as it should, because certain 2-letter words are just no longer available. So he's certainly aware of it. Does that affect his play? Probably not, but both players are going to note it at least.
Dave did hold on to CG, has not yet created dark matter, although that may happen in the future. I wonder if we might see a hex extension with that G on his rack. Hexagonal would be a really neat play, a really awesome play, but I guess with the A's almost or all gone now, that's not in the cards. Any other extensions to hex could be cool as well, like no spot for hexadecimal or something. I do wonder if there's any opportunity for him there. But I digress. Back to his rack at play. Dave looking to score some points, looking to muck up the board, and certainly not looking to open up any additional opportunities here. That is tough to do all of those things at once. But I think one way we may see that is corny or crony to the NY, that blank N in the double-double bingo on the board. Not seeing much else for him this turn.
Yeah, at this point, he's run out of vowels to play through, which is really what he needs to start unloading consonants. There's not any dangling vowels here to bail him out here. So something like crony probably to the NY. I mean, it's still kind of treading water. Again, he's up by 120. He can afford to spend a few turns not really scoring that well. Especially he's looking at the state of the board, and he knows that Wellington is also going to be struggling to score here, barring a miracle bingo from the G or the Q.
Yeah, Dave, other options, quarter or coder through that DE seem to be options. I would just worry about my opponent dropping a 4-tile S play, pluralizing those words, and opening up the entire bottom quadrant of the board after a play like that. It does knock out bingos that could backhook affiant with an S, which is sort of nice, but I don't like easy opportunities for my opponent to open the board. I do, however, like scoring points, and coder is going to be 16 of them with a nice leave, GNR. There are 6 I's and 6 O's to be drawn, and I draw will almost certainly yield Dave a bingo, though it might not play. 2 O's instead the draw, and Wellington, EINRT VW, the rack for him. He's still not finding any relief from the tile bag, though Windsor plays through that C, opens up some volatility on this board, plays off 5 tiles, trying to draw an S or a blank. That looks to be a good play, and Wellington agrees. Is this Wince or Windsor? It'll be Windsor, 30 points.
Yeah, I think this is a play where we talked about this earlier in the stream. Dave is going to have to think about the S hook. Is Wellington holding on to an S? Does he just wish he had an S and is hoping that he gets an S? And what Dave decides on that will sort of determine how he plays this turn.
Dave has 1 playable bingo on this turn, and it sucks. It is 58 points. It is through the T in affiant, rootling, ROOTLING, opening a triple with a 100-point lead. Maybe the last thing you want to do if you're Dave, but bingoing would be nice. That's a tough one. Will he play it or not? We will display the unseen pool as well, as this is pretty yucky. Lots of garbage unseen to Dave. Dave will forego the bingo here. I'm almost certain he would see it and just be like, nope, that's terrible. I'm not doing it. I'll sit on the blank as well. Logo the play for Dave, 23 points, and he plays it rather quickly, giving him more time to think about the rest of this game. IOUD, the pull for Dave, is great. He got to be feeling very good about his rack now. And Wellington, down 218 to 342, has to feel that this one is falling further and further out of reach for him. EOOKTTV, the rack. He can play alongside vote or alongside logo with a play like vote, but that kind of feels like rolling over and dying in this game. Maybe he needs to keep that line open, and as we saw Russell Honeybun do in the previous game, try to open another quadrant of the board. But at some point, you do also think about spread in a situation like this. We might see him play something like Trove or Troke through the R in Windsor just to give this board a little bit more life. But Dave has just been patiently sitting on this blank. Wellington may feel that it's in the bag still for him to draw, but it's been on Dave's rack for a while, and Wellington really not going to have much of an opportunity here.
Yeah, I'm curious if Wellington at this point may be thinking that Dave has the blank, just because logo is a somewhat weird play to make with the blank in the bag. There's not that many bingos that play there, but there are bingos that play over there, and it gets a lot less likely for Wellington to have those from Dave's perspective, since Dave is holding the blank. So Wellington might have sniffed that out, might think logo is slightly too open for Dave to make under normal circumstances, and is only making it here because he knows that the blank is with him, not in the bag. Possibly overthinking this. Again, these players are really good. They're definitely thinking sort of about the ramifications, the hidden meanings of their opponent's plays. And logo does require some thought in this case.
The fact that Dave didn't really spend much time to think about the Windsor S hook, and the fact that he opened another bingo line on this board, to me gives me a very sinking feeling if I'm Wellington. But you have to play eternally optimistic with the deficit. You have to hope exactly the right series of events happens for you to have any chance in the game. So, he's got to hope that something opens up for him if he wants to win. TOOK going to be the play for Wellington. 22 points, bringing him up to 240 to Dave's 342. DINORU blank the rack for Dave. He is going to bingo this turn and shut the door on this one. A huge win in store for Dave the American, as OUNDIER plays in that left side column that Dave has just created, and that'll be game over in this one. Welcome to the stream, Dave. Welcome to the leaderboard, Dave. Wow, coming out in style and knocking off a defending world champion in Wellington. Wow.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way he misses Undi or Aundi or however you say it. As you say, that'll be game over. But yeah, what a great first appearance for Dave. We knew he was good. We didn't have visual confirmation that he's good. Now we have it. Any doubters out there in chat or watching the stream, if you were foolish enough to be a Dave Wiegand doubter, hopefully those doubts were vanquished.
I don't know what's taking Dave so long to play Aundier. It looks to be clearly the play here, but we will wait. Keep us in suspense a bit more, or keep Wellington in suspense a bit more if you're Dave. As a reminder for our viewers, we play 8 games a day at the World Scrabble Championship, 4 games, a lunch break, and 4 more games. Already, this has been the 4th game of the morning session, so we will be cutting to a lunch break at the end of this one. Lunch will run until 2:30 p.m. Las Vegas or Pacific time, 5:30 p.m. if you are joining us from the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time. And otherwise, you will have to do the math on this one. But that is in a little less than 2 hours. We'll be back on the air. 4 more games will determine who makes the best of 7 finals tomorrow. We will unfortunately be losing Charles. He's like a loser with a job or something like that. And I will be joined on the headset by James Curley, who we got to hear already from yesterday. Tomorrow, I'm excited to announce that we have determined our finals co-commentator. It'll be me, joined by none other than Josh Sokol of Canada, who just won an NWL North American Championship in this very playing room last week. A player many of you know because he streams very frequently, Axer Typo. So yeah, Josh will be joining me tomorrow, James Curley this afternoon. And for those of you who enjoyed Charles, we will miss you. Thanks for your time. For those of you who didn't, good riddance, adios, get out of here, scram.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words, Matt. A lot of fun to commentate, a lot of fun to see these games. And we're getting a play from Dave here that I don't think any of us really expected. He's playing Udo, not playing the bingo. So must be missing it. I was thinking he might play something to keep the U so that he's just going for some QU bingo to really rub the salt in the wound. But he's not even doing that. So it looks like just a miss from Dave. Right as we were, extolling his virtues, we were pumping him up so much as this elite word finder, and he is proving us wrong.
The commentator jinx is all too real. If I say it, it will not happen. I'll be here all week. Divot the play for Wellington now. Perhaps if he's able to find that S in the bag, he'll get something nice. EI, not a good leave normally, but EIII, the only 4 vowels left in the 19-tile unseen pool. If he picks up this S, maybe an outside shot after the bingo miss from Dave, but it's still going to be very difficult for him to get back into this game. Will he pull the S? Will he pull another vowel? Will he pull a bingo? Let's find out. There it is. No bingo, as far as I know, unless there's something nuts in here that I've never seen before. But yeah, no bingo. But the S gonna give gonna give Wellington a few additional chances here. The chat is so confused. They're like, I don't think I've ever seen Dave miss a bingo before, and he's been a top expert in the United States for decades at this point. That is very, very strange. Somebody get that man a beer.
Yeah, whatever he was doing last night to give him his, improved Scrabble powers must be wearing off. So if somebody wants to take him out to lunch, get a couple more beers in him, maybe his thing is bacon cheeseburgers, get him a bacon cheeseburger, whatever it takes to get his mojo back so that he's not missing bingos for the last 4 games of this tournament.
Even Dave Wiegand is human. My favorite Dave tradition is when he wins a tournament that I am at, which is most of them that he and I are both at. Miraculously, incredibly, he always plays his last game before I finish mine, and he is always right outside the doors of the playing room with a 6-pack of some local craft beer in tow. And you walk out, he's standing there with the bottle opener, just, hey, want a beer? And of course, I'm going to say yes to that, man. So I don't know where these magical cold 6-packs come from or how Dave always has them as soon as he's won a tournament. But thank you, Dave, for all of the free beers that we have celebrated together as you win so many tournaments. So Dave going to score some points. Trim here, going to leave 4 tiles in the bag. Sorry, 3 tiles in the bag. And Wellington, with a different pull, could have made a little bit of drama in this game, but instead going to miss out on a bingo yet again. I wonder if we see KIP for 9 set up that S.
Yeah, he might do something like that, just to give him one last chance. I think with correct play from Dave, Wellington is probably aware that Kip doesn't really win. It's not a winning play, but it is a spread minimizing play, which is perhaps what he's looking for here.
I don't see any way back in for Wellington with this deficit, even despite the bingo miss. Double blanks from Dave, too much to overcome.
Yeah, and if we were going to go back and say, like, where did Wellington go wrong? Was there a spot where we feel like he should have done something different? At least for me, it was the Zeta play. Maybe it doesn't really work out any differently for him, but I strongly preferred something like gaze on that turn.
Yeah, not often we see Wellington with 0 bingos in a game, but the inflexibility from his rack after that play, a big part of the reason he wasn't able to get one down in this game. But wow, with this loss, there's a good chance we have a new leader in this tournament. If Harshan of England is able to defeat Adam Logan, Harshan likely to jump into first place. He is only 60 spread points behind Wellington. Wellington looks to lose by more than 60 in this one. So we may see the Brit jump into first if he is able to defeat Adam Logan, but that is no easy task at all.
Yeah, that's what we love about this tournament. It's like even going into the last couple games, there's nobody that's firmly entrenched themselves as a finalist. Every game matters. Every player in every game is just duking it out as hard as they can to get those 1 or 2 wins that they need to be in good position. And the leader position has been, especially the top 5, it's just been like flip-flopping all over the place, keeping us on our toes.
As we hit sort of a lull in this one, Wellington looks to try to give himself some life. I think he looks at glib as one option, trying to find ways to set up triples Dave would be forced to sacrifice to block, and then maybe he'll hit a bingo at the bottom of this board with a blank pull. I do want to go ahead and give a shout out. So I think Charles and I both have the same problem in Scrabble where people get us confused with our brothers. I do have an older brother who plays in Scrabble tournaments as well, Chris Canik, who's rated about 1,700, except in Coco, where randomly he's like 1950 after playing 2 tournaments. And Charles, you unfortunately have a brother as well. Tell us about him.
Yep, I indeed have an identical twin brother. Very close in rating. We've been kind of nemesis for basically the entire time we've been playing. Just always going to the same tournaments, constantly getting paired with each other. I mean, we travel to nationals. We think finally we get to play somebody, then each other, and then we get paired. And we sit there wondering why we spent all this money to go somewhere just to play each other. But yeah, the brother powers are real. We are certainly the highest rated brothers in the Scrabble scene currently. Total diss to Matt and his brother Chris.
Hey, if my brother weren't such a huge, enormous scrub, then maybe we could match you. But Chris just can't get his stuff together. So come on, Chris, looking at you. Your brother, though, also a huge, enormous scrub, is my understanding. Are those reports correct?
Yeah, the unconfirmed reports of Thomas's scrubbiness can now be confirmed. Total scrub. Don't look at his rating. I think he's 14th in WESPA right now after a good performance at World Cup, but don't let that fool you. Total scrub, can't play Scrabble. Embarrassed to be related to him.
Absolutely. You heard it here on stream from the World Scrabble Championship. Both Chris Canik and Thomas Reinke, complete eternal scrubs. Wellington has not revealed those 2 tiles. We saw Russell do this, create some suspense for himself, try to avoid giving away tells, and also keeping all of us in limbo here. Dave's actually only got a handful of wins according to Quackle. BHEL, using that blank, playing with BON, EL, and LOW. Way over on the left side of this board is 38. BLAH in that same spot is 41. Those would outrun any bingo Wellington could have all of the time. Quackle also recommending unlich, UNLICH, down from the U in XU. I think the big concern here is Spinier and Wincers, which would be a very high scoring bingo if Wellington's face down tiles are IN. But who knows what those tiles are? Not us, not Dave. Not Wellington, maybe. I don't know if he's peeked at him, but it looks like this is going to be the play here. A CHIBS and trims. That's going to address that spot. And Wellington now, even if he's able to bingo, Spinier would play making BAALS, note, and TORR, but that is not the rack he's pulled. EEINPRS, the unseen tiles. He'll still be able to bingo out Erepsin, EREPSIN, and BAALS. Going to play for Wellington, so he'll get the out bingo, but it will not be enough. The bingo coming down will make the final in this one 365 to 407, as Dave, entering the lunch break, has pulled a huge win, pulling off 10 out of 11, and has propelled himself right into contention for this World Scrabble Championship. What a run.
Yeah, he is. He's showing why he has the reputation he does. He did not start this tournament well, but I'm sure everybody's just sitting there afraid of when he would turn it on. And he turned it on. He pulled off a lot of wins in a row, and now he's right up there at the top.
Wild. Dave, for those who don't know, a top Scrabble player from Portland, Oregon. He is an active participant in the Portland Scrabble Club, which meets informally at random breweries across town. No shortage of great craft beer in that city. So Dave has played in that area for a long time. Many other top experts passing in and out of the Portland area at various times. His wife, Chris Morgan is I believe, national or even world champion bridge player, and Dave, a very good bridge player himself. And now Chris has sort of stepped out of the limelight more to direct major bridge tournaments than to play in them. We've talked about players coming from a variety of different other gaming backgrounds, poker and chess and Magic the Gathering. There is a huge overlap of bridge players and Scrabble players as well. I know I've made some great friends in the Philly area as I've stayed here this summer, on many of them coming from the bridge scene as well. Shout out to Ed Roth and Rich Popper for putting together big meetups to help me meet players in this area, have some fun, and play some Scrabble as well. But Dave and his wife, big in bridge. Dave, huge in Scrabble. Chris, huge in bridge. Very talented couple.
Yeah, definitely a power couple. We have power couples in Scrabble that both play Scrabble, but that doesn't mean you can't have a power couple that's playing two different games, as Dave and his wife do.
Two different games. There's a lot of Jeopardy as well in the tournament Scrabble scene. I know at least one top Scrabble player has won well over 200,000 American dollars playing Jeopardy and winning a bunch of games in a row. Numerous Scrabble players have appeared on Jeopardy in one capacity or another, as it's another game that requires a good amount of study beforehand, but also talent over the mic. We've seen some Scrabblers on Wheel of Fortune, but perhaps fewer than you would think. It's crossword. Many top Scrabble players also make or design crosswords or compete in crossword competitions. That one, obviously, a very natural parallel. I can't believe Wellington hasn't played a Repsin already. Is this a slow roll here, or has he not seen it yet? Is he looking for something better? I don't know what's going on, but yeah, Scrabblers are typically talented in many domains, many amazing musicians as well at the top of the Scrabble circuit.
Yeah, the top of the Scrabble, and really the entire Scrabble scene, even, exiting the expert ranks, it's just chock full of the most amazing musicians, like just amazing thinkers in general. It's really an honor to be able to square off against some of these people and actually succeed from time to time, knowing their level of expertise, not just in Scrabble, but various other things.
So here comes a Repsin. Dave, a trombonist as well. Chat pointing that out. I did know that at one point, but forgot to mention it here. A Repsin going to be the 79-point out bingo from Wellington. 6 more points from Dave's rack, and we go into our lunch break with an absolutely spicy leaderboard. I do not yet see a result from the Harshan and Adam Logan game, but this victory for Dave, combined with a Harshan victory, more than likely propels the Brit into first place and would drop Wellington down into second. Wow, what a tournament we're having. As a reminder, we will be back with more live Scrabble in 87 minutes as we return from the lunch break. Let's cut to the overhead mic and see. I see a smile on Wellington's face. Will we get some banter here?
This night, bud, get out of here.
That would look bad for all your fans.
Well, the fans will understand that the brain is full by now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that perhaps the most chatter we've seen post-game from Wellington. Dave, I think saying, I look bad in front of all your fans or something like that. Will Anderson has been dealt another defeat, this one at the hands of Charles Tachi-Minson. So Will has plummeted now to 19-9. Will likely need a 4-0 session this afternoon and some additional help now with that loss to make it into the finals. It looks like this afternoon going to be mostly a 3-horse race. Wellington, Harshan, and Dave Wiegand, although one of the 19-9s could look to make a run. Will Anderson of the US, Andrew Fisher of Australia, and Charles Tachi-Minson all look to make a run. We're going to wrap up our coverage there for right now. Charles, once again, thank you for taking the half day off work to join me on mic. I'm super appreciative of it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike or Matt. It was a lot of fun. We saw some really good games. Some of them were maybe a little bit more tilted towards the blowout than we would have wanted, but I think a lot of instructive positions in all of them. And it's just a treat to watch these high-level players play. It's especially a treat when they, set up words on their rack so that we can track their thought processes. So it's a lot of fun, and I think there's going to just be more great Scrabble left for these last 4 games.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch. Thank you to all of our viewers as well for tuning in. We'll be back in 84 minutes with more Scrabble. And hey, if you haven't yet, share these links around. I want these last 4 games to have a huge viewership. It's going to be very intense, a lot at stake, a world Scrabble champion title. We will be back. We're going to cut away for a little bit, but y'all come back. Okay? See you soon.